Hey everyone, this is Rachel. Thanks for clicking on my video. And I wanted to come in today, y'all, and talk about the sentencing of Tim Norman from Sweetie Pies. Now, I know everyone knows by now that a few months ago, Tim was actually convicted of the murder of his nephew, Andre Montgomery. Well, the time has come for sentencing. I believe it's going to be in the next week or so. And the reason why I wanted to do this video is because I've been reading a lot of stuff that's going on with Miss Robbie, Tim's mother, and the letter that she wrote to the judge begging for mercy for Tim. Also, Tim received other character reference letters from his aunt, and she also begged for mercy for him. Now, y'all, at this point, I have changed my feelings about Miss Robbie. And in the beginning, I was very much upset for her. Upset that, Andre was murdered in the city while he was up there with her. So that was one thing that I was upset, that it happened in St. Louis and not in Texas, where Andre was from. Then, once Andre was gone and Tim became the suspect, I still had sympathy and empathy for Miss Robbie, because I felt like, she was torn. While she loved Andre, she was going to speak up for her son and be there for her son. And a lot of you who were in the comments of a few of the previous videos I did, you said the same thing. After all, that is her son, Now, we argued back and forth because I was under this vein of thought. I have a son too, but I could not support him in his wrong, especially if that wrong was causing the death of my nephew. I could not support him. Now, here's what I mean by that. I would still be his mother. I would still visit him, but I would not be offering my public support, because my heart could not take the thought that he could have been involved in the death of my nephew. Those are two different things. I would not support him publicly, defending him. I guess that's what I would say. I would not defend him. I would be there for him as his mother, maybe with visits. But what really, 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 I guess, made me just think a little differently about Miss Robbie is this letter of mercy that she sent to the judge on behalf of Tim. Now, I'm not going to go into everything that she said. She said what a typical mother would say. But here's the difference. In this whole begging of forgiveness, the victim of Tim's crime, the crime that he was convicted for, was not a stranger to Miss Robbie. It is her grandson. And in her letter of mercy, there was no mention of Andre. It was all about, don't give Tim life. Don't, do the death penalty or anything like that. Have mercy on him. And all the reasons why that, mercy should be shown towards Tim. Y'all, she lost me with that. She lost me with that. Because even if Tim gets life in prison, she can visit him. What does Andre's mother get? A gravesite that she's visiting? I understand that is Miss Robbie's son. I understand that as mothers, we support our children. It's hard for us not to. But, I got to thinking about Tim and Miss Robbie's relationship and how Tim possibly became the animal that he is. Sometimes, y'all, we should not support them in their BS. Maybe that's why Tim is the way he is now. You know, there's a separation. You could still be their mother, but let them know I'm not supporting you in your mess. You know, make them accountable for what they've done. See, Tim thought that he could get away with this. When you really think about what he did, he took his nephew's life. This wasn't a stranger. This was blood. This is even worse than, taking a stranger's life, almost. Because it is someone he knew, someone he had spent time with, his brother's son. Also, if I was the judge, I wouldn't have mercy on him because Tim already did a 10-year bit in prison. If anyone should not want to go back or not want to see the insides of a prison ever again, it should have been Tim. Tim also got out of jail and got something that other convicts could only dream of, a chance. His mother owned a restaurant that he could walk in, put on an apron, and be the manager of one of her stores or several of her stores. He wasn't without employment because he was a convicted felon. He had everything going for him to do the right thing. But it seems like to me that deep down inside, Tim is just rotten to the core. When he went to jail the last time, it was for robbery. And as if I was the judge, I would be sitting there thinking about everything that Tim had in his favor that should have kept him out of trouble. Not only that, but the very woman that is writing the letter to the judge, Miss Robbie, remember she had to take Tim to court for stealing money from her. Slapping her name on restaurants that she didn't even authorize. She had to go to court to fight him. Her own child. See, that's when I say at some point, all that support, I wouldn't be doing that. Now, like I said, there's a difference between supporting him, writing letters to judges and stuff, and hey, going to visit him on Visitor's Day. That would be the motherly thing. Maybe as a mother, I couldn't see him in jail for the rest of his life, and I never went and visited him. But all these letters of support, when I know through the evidence that was submitted in court that my son, has something to do with my grandson's death, I could not be writing letters of begging a judge. I would go to that jail and sit down with Tim and say, hey, look, I need to talk to you. While I will be your mother, I'm going to come visit you and, put money on your books or whatever. But that's the best I can do because I sat in that courtroom and I watched them lay out that evidence. And Tim, whether you are going to admit it to me or not, you did this. You were involved in this. He would be fortunate to still have me visiting him, but I would not turn a blind eye to another mother's pain, the mother of my grandson, to totally support Tim blindly. I think that is insane. And when I read the letter, I was thinking, there's no mention of Andre. At least the letter that the aunt wrote for Tim, the mercy letter, it did mention that there was a victim. She said something to the effect of, even though what he has done, that she still believed that he deserved mercy. It's not like she didn't mention the crime at all. And in Miss Robbie's letter, I didn't see any admission that Tim was involved. It's like someone else did it. So y'all, I can't I can no longer support Miss Robbie in this because I guess in the choice of the two sons, she chose hers. You know, Andre only got a chance to be on this earth, what, 21, 22 years? He didn't even really get a chance to get into the trouble that Tim has been in. Tim spent half of that time in jail because Tim was in jail for 10 years. You deduct that off of Andre's life, Andre was only 10 or 11. You know, he didn't get a chance to go out in the world and enjoy his life growing older. So this mercy letter is some bull. Miss Robbie needs to take stock of herself and at some point decide to walk away or turn her back a little bit on him. Give him time to think. Every time he falls, don't be there to pick him up. You know, let him know, hey, I'll visit you, but you gotta think about this. You gotta think about what you did. Because Miss Robbie, I don't know how she's squaring all this evidence in her head. It was a fact that Tim took out life insurance policies on Andre. It was a fact that Tim had conversations with Terica Ellis. Fact. It was a fact that he knew the insurance agent. Fact. It was a fact that he had ties to the man who actually shot Andre. You know, phone calls off those burner phones. She sat there and listened to them lay out the facts. So what that tells me is even after all the facts, it's like she's saying, bump Andre, I'm about my own. And then I think back to the conversations that Andre had with Miss Robbie right before he came back to St. Louis, telling Miss Robbie that he was aware that Tim was looking for him, that he was scared to come back to St. Louis because Tim was looking for him, that he was nervous about being in that city because there were people, you know, looking for him. Miss Robbie knew all that. She remembered those conversations of Andre telling her that Tim was out to get him, and then Andre shows up dead. So, y'all, I don't have that empathy and sympathy for Miss Robbie anymore. Also, you know, we know that when Miss Robbie talked to Andre, she cussed him out about getting back to St. Louis to take that lie detector test. So, like someone else said, even though Andre was scared, even though he was worried about these people that Tim allegedly had out looking for him, he put all of that aside and went back to St. Louis against his better judgment. Everything that he told Miss Robbie came to pass. Tim was looking for him. Tim had a hit out on him to be killed, and he's gone now. Miss Robbie has had to sit and think about that. So for that reason alone, I'm done with her. Because in the end, Andre's mother has nothing. The place that Andre used to fill in her life, it's empty now. When she goes to the gravesite, she can't touch him, see him. She only has memories. If Tim serves life in prison, at least Miss Robbie can visit him. She can see him. Think about it, y'all. At what point do we let our kids fall, bump their heads, take accountability for things that they've done? It's nothing against us. If your child is done wrong, you make them stand in it. You know, you don't support them to the point where they always believe that they're going to get out of something, because I actually believe that Tim thought, oh, he's going to get out of this. He's probably sitting in jail shocked that he's been convicted. and guilting Miss Robbie into supporting. See, I couldn't have been his mother because I'd have been like, I'll still be your mother. I'm going to come visit you. But all this other, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. You need to think about what you've been accused of. You need to think about what you have been convicted of and come to some terms in your head. But that has nothing to do with me. And also, mother to mother, that's a slap in Andre's mother's face because she trusted him to be up there with Miss Robbie. Can you imagine how Andre's mother feels after she heard the contents of what's in Miss Robbie's mercy letter to the judge on behalf of her son? Y'all, Miss Robbie may not be who I thought she was. You know, she's funny, the show was cute, she can cook, but all that other, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I gotta sort this in my head out about Miss Robbie. Let me know down in the comments what y'all think. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care now. Bye.